House, Newt Gingrich. I don't know what to say about this. There's a part of this that is extremely chilling to me, and I would imagine you have the same reaction when you just look at the basic facts here.
Look, I mean, I think you have to back up a minute and take a long view. You have a totally corrupt New York system. It's corrupt from the governor to the state legislature to the judges to the prosecutors. Basically, it's the Sopranos running the government. It's totally corrupt. We were first really given a brilliant insight in this by Tom Wolfe in a novel called Bonfire of the Vanities 40 years ago, where he outlined the depth of corruption between the prosecutor and the judge. Nothing has changed. It's just got worse. So let's start with this notion. New York now is a corrupt state. New York City is a corrupt city. Any business that does business in New York is stupid because you are at risk of a corrupt prosecutor and a corrupt attorney general ripping you off. Now, Trump's a unique case because he is the most powerful anti-establishment politician since Andrew Jackson. So he is an enormous threat to every corrupt politician in the country, from Joe and Hunter Biden down through New York and on to California. And that's what we're witnessing. But we got to look at the larger historical picture. This is a deeply corrupted state which has driving people out of the state. I think the latest number is 600,000 tax-paying New Yorkers have left. And you'll see it in the size of the state government's budget deficit. Same thing's happening in California. The corruption of Sacramento is driving people out of the state, and their budget deficit, I believe, this year will be $51 billion. These states are totally out of control. Donald Trump happens to be the example, but he's an example of a deeply, deeply corrupt system.
Let me ask you, as you look at the election, the way I'm seeing things is Joe Biden's losing his base in massive numbers. That, to me, is an opportunity. Your thoughts? How would you seize on that opportunity? How would you take advantage of that opportunity?
Well, this may surprise you. I think that the country wants ideas more than anger. I think that the country wants to see a presidential candidate in the big cities. I hope that Trump will plan for 7 or 8 or 9 speeches from Philadelphia to Baltimore to New York to Boston to Chicago to San Francisco. You know, the voters of San Francisco, just by 2 to 1, voted to require drug testing if you're going to get welfare. Now, that is a big shift. And I think there's a country out there that would love to have a presidential candidate who is unifying, visionary. I mean, he ought to ally himself, for example, with Elon Musk and lay out a space program for the next decade that would inspire every young American to believe they had a great dynamic future. If Trump will be positive and aggressive and go everywhere, African Americans, Latino Americans, Asian Americans, Native Americans, young people. You know, young people is the biggest drop in Biden's support because all of a sudden they discovered being woke means you're not going to get a job, you're not going to buy a car, you're going to have to live with your parents, you have no future. And they suddenly figured out, you know, that ain't a very good deal. And of course, today, the Biden administration announced a plan to force every American to buy an electric vehicle, whether they want to or not. A position, by the way, which about 2/3 of the country is totally opposed to. And that just gives you one more example. You have a left wing, which is crazy, and a president who is suffering from cognitive problems, and his family is totally corrupt.
How's the border doing under Joe Biden? How is safety and security where you live? How are your schools where you live? How's the economy working out for you? Simple questions. The last thing the media or the Biden people want to talk about. The only thing conservatives should talk about. All right, Mr. Speaker, thank you. We appreciate your time. When we come back.